On 101.9 WDET FM, I'm Tia Graham, and this week we're joined by Laura Herberg. Laura is a former WD&T employee, one of the first folks I met here at WDET,
Aww.
and now works at Outlier Media. Laura, how are you? How's it been?
I'm good, Tia. I'm happy to be staring at your face right now. I'll put it that way. Brings me back, takes me back. Things are good over at Outlier, though. We have a cool new text service. It's a text service that I think we're going to be talking about later in the week. So
we are with Sarah Alvarez. So
Yep.
I'm super excited about that conversation to keep Detroiters connected to what's important and residents who are in and out of Metro Detroit. But what's happening on the program today?
Well, today I am super excited. We're going to be talking pizza. Who doesn't love pizza? We're also going to be checking in on Governor Whitmer's record. And we have a cool event centered around Detroit's riverfront that we're going to be talking about a little later on. But first, we're going to talk to the brand new director of Detroit's Entrepreneurship and Economic Opportunity Department.
Indeed, we are. There are a lot of problems that exist for Detroiters, and many need homes repairs, or some may need money to pay auto insurance or to purchase a better functioning car. There are a lot of things that can improve these things, and for residents, having a good, stable job is one of them. A stable job with a higher income offers stability and even meaning and hope for a lot of people. So, how do we give more Detroiters access to good jobs? And how does the city go about creating more jobs or offering more opportunities to create them? At the end of last month, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan created the city's first Entrepreneurship and Economic Opportunity Department, and its director is Justin Owenu. To discuss how he plans to expand job opportunities to city residents, we have Director Owenu here now. Director Owenu, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. And you are the first ever Director of Entrepreneurship and Economic Opportunity. What is your office's role? What are you tasked with accomplishing?
Yeah, so the office really was created to drive economic development focused on small businesses and startups. We know that there is so much energy and excitement around tech and around starting new businesses here in the city of Detroit, and we just want to support that growth and make sure that entrepreneurs in the city of Detroit feel supported.
And you have a big labor background. You were organizing director for One Fair Wage, which seeks to increase the minimum wage, and you served as a law clerk as well for Service Employee International Union and the United Auto Workers. So why is having a background in labor important for this particular task?
Yeah, so I'll even start earlier. Before law school, I was a community organizer, and really the role was, going door to door, figuring out what people's problems were, bringing people together and getting things done. And so I want to take that same approach to this job. We know during COVID, there were so many small businesses and entrepreneurs who were struggling to get back on their feet, to connect to customers, just to, get back into real life, into what we're, going through now. And so I think my role really is focused on identifying the barriers that entrepreneurs and small business owners face and clearing them. And so that means, policy, regulatory policy and red tape that can constrain growth. It also means making sure that Detroiters and Detroit entrepreneurs are invested in. And so, whether it be my community organizing background, my background with workers, my background with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation at the state level, I really, at the center of it all is really wanting to see Michigan's economy and Detroit's economy growing and thriving for everybody. So I'm excited about this role. I'm excited to fight for entrepreneurs and Detroiters every day.
And Justin, we talked a little bit earlier. You are from the city of Detroit. We always ask Detroiters what part.
Yeah, West Side.
All right. And you being from the city of Detroit, you have a unique perspective on what's needed from the residents, whether it's the businesses, whether it's, whatever there may be. So from your perspective, in what ways does your background help lead to this job, help lend to this job?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think oftentimes this is not unique to Detroit, but nationally, oftentimes people see government as a barrier, something they have to navigate. Business owners and entrepreneurs especially, you have a great idea, you take a leap of faith, you maybe don't have the same security as a job that's providing you benefits. So it takes a lot to put things on the line and to start your business. And so oftentimes people see government as a barrier. We want people to see the city of Detroit as a partner, and as a part of their growth and as a part of their story. And so that means, using the city's power, writing rules that make sense for all Detroiters, especially entrepreneurs and small business owners. But it also means, the city of Detroit has a multi-billion-dollar budget. And so making sure that that budget is, being used in a way that supports our small business owners and Detroiters who've been here, who've been investing in the community and really have been anchors. I think viewing entrepreneurs and startups and small business owners as anchors in the community, I think is really important. And so we want to do everything we can to support that work and that effort.
And if you are just joining us on the Metro, we're speaking with Justin Owenu. He's Detroit's first director of entrepreneurship and economic opportunity. And, you know, what sets Detroit apart? You talked a little bit about that. We know Detroit hustles harder. That's just the fact. But what kinds of businesses really stand out? What's on the rise right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's across the board. We see, you know, everyone sort of knows that Detroit has this culture of innovation. We've talked a lot about the auto industry, but there are so many people who are starting businesses, coming up with great ideas that are connected to auto, but also connected to a lot of other industries. And so, you know, for me, I know that 70% of the net new jobs since 2019 have been created and driven by small businesses. Detroit, I think, has a unique, you know, hands in dirt manufacturing base, or auto manufacturing base especially, but so many other industries, you know, we're leading the way in. So I'm excited to support not just, you know, the auto industry and our culture of innovation in that front, but across the board as well.
Yeah, it's been really, really amazing to see some of the businesses that have been popping up throughout the city of Detroit, whether it's someone who's decided to open up their own beauty supply or mobile beauty truck or whatever it may be. We've been seeing so many things happening. So, Justin, when you do actually speak with Detroiters, particularly entrepreneurs, what are some of the biggest frustrations other than the red tape that they may have to go through with government?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. So I mentioned, you know, red tape and trying to figure out how to navigate city government can be daunting for someone to start their business. But also I think, you know, there's this sort of narrative that in order to succeed, you have to get funding from, you know, San Francisco, New York, the coast. And I think changing that narrative and making sure that Detroit entrepreneurs and Michigan entrepreneurs feel supported, you know, with dollars, with policy, with programming, I think that is really important. And so for me, I'm going to define success by, you know, how many Detroit entrepreneurs actually feel invested in and supported and can say to themselves, oh, I know I don't have to go to the coast to get the sort of love and support and grounding that I deserve and that I need to succeed.
Yeah. And when I think about the city of Detroit, once again, the businesses that I'm seeing that are sticking around, I think about the fashion industry. I'm seeing a lot more fashion designers staying here and not going to New York or not going to some of the other places, which has been really, really great to see. Detroit has programs to help boost entrepreneurship. Motor City Match is one of them, which gives money to new businesses. Do you plan to expand programs like these, or like what do we see with these type of programs?
Yeah, so there's already one of the things I've been talking about as I've been on this listening tour is I recognize that there is so much great work already happening, whether it be Motor City Match and the work that the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation is doing, you know, organic things like Black Tech Saturdays and what's going on at Tech Town and New Lab. There are over 100 startups in that New Lab ecosystem right now that are doing great work. So there is so much organic energy happening right now. And I really want, you know, the city of Detroit to be a partner in that. And so for me, that means policy. It means regulatory reform. That means viewing the city as a partner when it comes to purchasing and procurement, which is gets a little nerdy. Programming, you know, there are so many barriers from legal services to accounting services to connection to capital that I think the city can play a leadership role in as well. So there's you know, you mentioned the fashion industry, of course, the auto industry. There's so many industries that I think, you know, have to navigate some of the same challenges, whether it be infrastructure it takes to start your business, the type of investment and capital that you need to succeed, navigating the policy and regulatory regimes that exist across all different sectors. So I think, you know, we have a lot of sectors and a lot of businesses that are doing great work, but we know that so much of the economic growth that we're seeing driven across the country is being driven by entrepreneurs and small businesses. So I'm excited to continue this listening tour, get to know folks in every part of the city and make sure that they are supported and have a partner in the city of Detroit.
And Justin, I know you're still listening to folks right now, but it sounds like there's already a bit of a laundry list developing. What is first on your agenda? What's one of the first things that we can expect to see come out of this office?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. So listening is, as a, you know, organizer, once an organizer, always an organizer. But as an organizer, I think listening is always the first step. But I think beyond that, there are a tremendous number of legacy businesses that have been around for generations. My dad started a small business on the West Side selling hair care supplies, actually.
Oh,
And, I grew up hearing stories about how, difficult it can be to take that leap of faith. My granddad worked for the city of Detroit in the procurement office and accounting. Wow. So this idea that city government can be a partner with small businesses is something that's really personal for me. And so I want to listen, but I also want to make sure that the entrepreneurs and the small businesses that have been thriving in the city for such a long time really feel the love and support and recognition that they deserve, as well as making sure that folks view the city of Detroit as the best city in the country to start a business. So I think spanning both businesses that are legacy, that are rooted in the community, while also embracing this high growth tech driven, entrepreneurship ecosystem that we're seeing develop. I think doing both of those things is really important.
I love it. And, just thinking about some of the things when we're starting, you're going on a tour, you're listening to folks, you're trying to get an understanding. What would be some of the barriers that you're looking to kind of get out of the way, move out of the way for folks? Or what are some of the ways that you're going to approach city council or city government in general to kind of get things moving to help businesses by law, I guess you can say?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think, there are a lot of resources that help folks navigate the, city, state, federal bureaucracy. Detroit Means Business is a great resource for folks to look into. But I think, as much as we can provide resources to help people navigate, here's where to go to get this permit and pay this fee. And I mean, there are some cities that have half the number of steps that it takes, to open up a restaurant, for example. And so I really, on an industry by industry, sector by sector basis, want to see, are there areas where, we can simplify, combine steps, maybe reduce some of the costs that are associated with opening a business as well. So I think that will depend kind of business by business. But I also think the city as a market participant, as a purchaser, has a tremendous amount of power to incentivize and to invest and show love to the entrepreneurs and small businesses that are in the city. So, the city of Detroit has already done a great job of investing in Detroit-based businesses and businesses that, are headquartered in Detroit. Can we take that a step further and provide support for some of these newer, smaller businesses? Oftentimes, there is a gap between when someone has a great idea, when they start their business, and when they get to a national and global market. Can the city say, hey, we see potential in your business to be a national, a global brand? We'd like to invest in you, not as a, just to say out of the kindness of our hearts, which is important, but also to say, we know when you succeed, communities succeed in the city of Detroit, and we all win. And so I think, one of the biggest kind of priorities for me is making sure the city as a purchaser, as a market participant, is a partner for small businesses as well.
Thank you so much. Perfect place to leave it. Director Owenu, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro. Justin Owenu is the city's first director of entrepreneurship and economic opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming up, Governor Whitmer has helped Democrats through several legislative accomplishments over the last few years, but she hasn't been able to get everything done that she said she would while campaigning for office. We'll talk with a reporter about what she's still got left on her agenda. That's next.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET-FM. I'm Tia Graham. This week, we're joined by Laura Herberg. She is a reporter with Outlier Media. Laura, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you, Tia.
And what's up next?
What's up is Governor Gretchen Whitmer has been in office since 2018, and over that time, a lot has happened. She's helped the Democrat-led legislature pass major pieces of legislation, and she's also become a national political figure with expectations from many that at some point she might run for president. But her Democratic National Convention appearance and best-selling memoir aside, Whitmer hasn't accomplished some key campaign promises yet, including fixing the damn roads. With 2 years left, will she get it done? To discuss this, we have Anna Clark here. Anna is a reporter for ProPublica, an investigative news service. Anna, welcome back to the Metro.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you here. So there's a lot that Democrats have done on Whitmer's watch, including repealing a retirement tax, making sure that abortion access is available in the state, protecting LGBTQ rights, and adding some gun control laws. But since March, not that much has happened with the Democratic-led legislature. Why do you think that is?
Well, as you say, it's been a really active leadership term for the governor, especially since the Democrats took the full control of Lansing for the first time in about 40 years. So as folks have said to me, there was a very deep agenda, a lot they wanted to get done, a lot of things that felt like pipe dreams. And so they have been very active in passing quite a lot of major change, as you described. Things are changing a little bit in this second half of the year, partly, maybe mostly because it is a very busy campaign season for everybody. The legislature is coming together maybe less often than they had. They are, getting back to work basically right now. There's a lot to do. It's real TBD on whether the Democrats will retain the leadership they have beyond this year. So we'll see. I'm very curious.
Okay, so in the article you wrote, you talk about how there are several things that Whitmer has said that she wants to get done. Let's go through some of those, starting with minimum wage. Back in 2018, Whitmer pushed for making a $15 minimum wage in the state, but it's been a winding path. Can you remind listeners what's happened so far?
Winding path is right. This is so as a candidate in 2018, the governor definitely made a $15 minimum wage a major part of her campaign. She spoke at rallies for the Fight for 15 thing. It was a real national movement, really making the case that this was an essential thing to do to make sure that nobody who is working full-time is living in poverty. And of course, it's worth noting $15 in 2018 is different than $15
It's a little different right now.
Yeah, it has changed. Now, we seemed at the time headed for a ballot referendum that would give us voters a chance to weigh in on the minimum wage and as well as the tipped wage and paid sick leave. This didn't end up making the ballot because the Republican-led legislature at the time adopted the measures as law and then promptly modified them to make much smaller changes. This move has been caught up in the courts up until very recently, just about a month ago. So the Supreme Court decision from July 31st does say that adopt and amend tactic is unconstitutional, and it's putting us on a path to that increased minimum wage, potentially $15 an hour approximately by 2028, as well as eradicating the tipped wage, putting it on the same level as the regular wage, and as well as these paid sick leave requirements. Now, this is been a bit of a bombshell for a lot of the business community. There's a lot of sturm and drang about this. And what's interesting is that even though we do seem to be now on this path to this higher wage that is about what the governor was campaigning on back in 2015, or 2018, excuse me. It is interesting that she has been rather quiet in the time since. And her administration just recently filed a motion in court asking for more clarity from the Supreme Court about how, should we calculate it like this or like that or like this? What do you think? A response motion from the plaintiff's lawyer argues that is a thinly veiled motion for reconsideration, and we should expect some word from whether the Supreme Court will move on that or not.
All right. Well, if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Anna Clark, a reporter with ProPublica. We're discussing what's left for Governor Whitmer to accomplish on the agenda that she created for herself before being elected to office. Let's talk about fixing the damn roads. How many times did we hear that phrase when she was campaigning? Can you remind us of the path that we've gone down so far toward fixing the damn roads?
The road we went down, we might say.
Right, exactly. And it's been bumpy, just like they are out there.
No, it's really... No, that's real. I mean, that was like her literal campaign slogan. And it has, still gotten a lot of... fire behind it to this day at the Democratic National Convention, where she was such a conspicuous presence. There was a lot of reference to this. A lot of the national interest in her comes from this kind of pragmatic leadership. This idea of really prioritizing these like day-to-day issues. And it doesn't matter what partisan leanings you have. All of us, are quite aware that the roads have been an issue for a long time. And so there's good news and bad news on it. I mean, the good news is, as most of us can see, there's a lot of construction cones out there. There is a lot of changes happening, a lot of investment, especially on highways and bridges. So that's great. A lot of that came when it was a divided state government. In her first year in office, she proposed a 45-cent gas tax that fell like a lead balloon. So she kind of went around and borrowed $3.5 billion to invest in a lot of the immediate needs for roads. And that has been supplemented by federal infrastructure money that has come through. So the good news is we're seeing some like serious fixes. That's great. The bad news is both of these are one-time, short-term, on their way out, expiring, funds of money. And the bonds only go for state-owned roads, so they don't even go towards a lot of like our local roads. The federal money, more flexible, spread thin across the entire state. What we need is an ongoing, sustainable source of revenue for the maintenance and construction of roads long term. Right now, we're kind of in this position where we're kind of going to fall off the cliff of this like infusion of money, and we're going to still need to pay for maintenance and construction of roads, which without a sufficient revenue source, and we're going to have to pay the principal and interest on this borrowed money. So that like core problem not yet been addressed, as according to some of the folks I talked to for the story. Once they got the bonds through, once they got the infrastructure money, once a lot of these construction cones that ended up, becoming part of our lives, it felt for a lot of folks it seemed like a done deal.
Well, so let's transition a little bit and talk about increasing transparency in government. So you write in your piece that Michigan is the rare state where both the governor's office and the legislature are exempt from open records law. Whitmer said she wants to expand the Freedom of Information Act access to the governor and the lieutenant governor's office. That would give people the ability to acquire government records from those offices. Where is she at with that promise?
Well, it hasn't happened yet. That was again a major campaign promise that she had in 2018. This was especially on the public mind because we were coming. The Flint water crisis was still something we were talking about a lot. There had been some misbehavior among legislators. There was a lot of things going on that made it very clear the cost of secrecy in government, and the fact that we are so unusual in not applying the same standards of transparency to our, one might say, our most powerful, elected officials is, troubling. So she made the vow to really commit behind this, and also said even if the legislature didn't give her a bill to act on, she was going to voluntarily open up her own office. She didn't do that to date. And this has become a kind of a thing where pretty much everybody supports it, quote unquote, especially when they're in the minority or the challenger. But when you get in office, it starts getting more, it has a way of falling down the priority list. And to be fair, it is it is a tricky issue in a lot of ways to literally craft the policy. The good news is there have been two senators, a Democratic Senator Jeremy Moss, Republican Senator Ed McBroom, who have been fighting the good fight on this for almost a decade. They did their pair of bills that would open up the governor's office and the legislature, hit a major milestone they never hit before in passing the Senate in June. So those are pending. It's now before the House, and we'll see what happens.
Well, yes, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, as well as with these other issues. Anna Clark, reporter for ProPublica, thank you so much for joining us again on the Metro.
It's a pleasure. Thank you both.
You're welcome. It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET-FM. And, you know, I was kind of sad last week because it was a little cold. But then this week, mostly sunny and a chance of rain today after 5. However, 79 degrees today. And tomorrow, it's going to be a high of 78. Wednesday, a high of 84. Thursday, a high of 86. Friday, a high of 83. So I'm okay with second summer in Michigan.
Yes, me too.
I really was sad when I felt that cold weather hit. I said, no, not pants.
It was an abrupt fall all of a sudden.
I know.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, oh, here's abrupt fall. Here's a Lions win.
Yay!
Almost passed out last night. We were talking.
Oh my gosh, I know. It was such a nail biter.
I was watching the game and I was just thinking to myself, okay, you guys are already pushing. It's a night game. It's a Sunday. I'm tired. I got to go to work in the morning. And then you guys say overtime. I was like, oh my gosh.
No.
Oh my gosh. Watching Montgomery yesterday, I was just like, okay, we got some guys. Amon Ross St. Brown had this really nice push off. I was just like, he got tackled right after, but
yeah, I mean, people were saying he was a little quiet, but Tia and I, we were talking. You were saying, why didn't they give Montgomery the ball before we got into overtime? Why didn't we push into that touchdown before? But it doesn't matter. We won. A win's a win. We did it.
Our executive producer, David Lyon, says he was fresh. That's why he was fresh.
Okay.
His legs were fresh. He was ready to go. And that's so. But either way, it was great watching Aiden also as well coming in at the end. It was just great to see the whole team, the O-line. We're not going to get too much into it because we're going to get into some pizza next, or what's coming up
from football
next.
to pizza. It's a perfect transition.
There are a lot of great pizza joints in Michigan, but one of them has been regionally recognized, which is really, really great. We'll talk about which one it is and why it's so great with the restaurant owner. Coming up right next on the Metro. The Metro on 101.9 WDET-FM. I'm Tia Graham. This week we're joined by Laura Herberg, reporter with Outlier Media, also formerly WDET reporter. Yay. Super excited to have you here, Laura.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. So before we get into the next conversation, which is about pizza,
yes,
do you like pineapple on your pizza?
I do. In my house, our go-to order is pineapple and jalapenos.
Mine too.
Wait, what?
Not kidding.
What?
Pineapple and jalapeno.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, that's the go-to for me as well. Look, I'm a woman after my heart.
That's amazing.
But we do have a really a regionally ranked pizza place right here in our backyard.
Yes, we do. Detroit has some incredible pizzas. Everybody listening knows, whether it's Cipino's, Buddy's, Paisai, or Amar's, there are many great choices. But one spot in the metro area got a lot of recognition recently. I'm talking about Loui's Pizza in Hazel Park. On Yelp's Top 100 Midwest Pizzas, Loui's was named number 1. To discuss what makes Loui's so great, we have the owner of that pizzeria here, Nick Sulkivsky. Nick, welcome to the Metro.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
First of all, how does it feel to be number 1 in the Midwest?
Oh, it feels fantastic. I mean, the amount of years my grandfather put into the place, and It's awesome. It's awesome. It's really an accomplishment.
Yeah, so your grandfather founded Louis, is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us the story?
My grandfather immigrated from France to West Virginia when he was about 13 years old. And he was a mason worker, bricklayer, anything he could get his hands on over in West Virginia. And then he met my grandmother over there. And one day they got a call from my grandmother's uncle, who was actually running Buddy's Pizza at the time. He bought it from the Guerrera family and needed some help in the kitchen. So my grandma and grandfather just came on over to Michigan and dropped everything to help out. So from there, my grandfather worked up to kitchen manager, lead pizza cook, stuff like that. And eventually moved on from Buddy's Pizza, started Shields Pizzeria, and then from there started Louis Pizza.
I mean, this like he has his finger in every like Detroit like
Yeah.
staple. I don't even know where to begin with it. Like,
My first question is, what's the tea? Like, did your grandfather have any beef with Buddies or Shields?
No.
No, okay.
No.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, it was just failed agreements.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, because Buddies was also on the list, Yelp's list, a little bit farther down. They were number 69. How did you feel when you saw where Buddies ranked?
It was a double-edged sword, because sure, there are rivals and stuff like that. We always feel great, bettering the opposition, but it's also, they're not what they were before.
Oh.
And it's...
oh, I get what you're saying. I see. We're putting down what you're. We're picking up what you're putting down there.
But nothing ill intent,
Yeah, of course.
just, man.
So what do you mean by that? And I'm asking this because in a second, I'm going to have you describe your restaurant for the 3 people listening who haven't walked in there. But when you say Buddies isn't what it once was, what do you mean by that?
Well, so originally it was the Guerrera family. They own Cloverleaf now, and that's the starters of Buddies. And after that, they moved on to Cloverleaf. My family took over, and we kind of built it up, with their already built reputation. So we kind of built it a little bit more. And with that, the Buddies was supposed to go like a transfer of ownership from the owners that bought it off of the Guerrera family to my grandfather and a partner. And that just ended up falling through, life. And it was sold to the Jacobs family after that. And they did a bang-up job. They did a fantastic job over the years. And then commercialization. Commercialization takes the heart and soul out of things, and that's the main reason why I only have one place, is because if I had more than one place, then I wouldn't be able to show the adequate love to all of them, And it's just bittersweet.
So Louis is, I would say, the antithesis of commercialization. When you walk in there, it's a bit of a time capsule in the best way. Can you describe what it looks like when you walk into Louis, the ambiance?
I would say you're walking right on into the 1970s. Red painted ceilings. My grandfather loved flair, so there's glitter on the ceiling. Got the pop in there. The nice red booths with it's just like you said, it's a time capsule walking into there.
Yeah, and you can't forget the Chianti bottles that are hanging from the ceiling. So how does that work? If guests order Chianti, then they can decorate the bottles and they get hung on the ceiling?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
So back in a long time vacation before I was born, but my grandfather took our family out to the Bahamas, or it was Mexico. And they were on the resort hotel in the restaurant over there, and they kind of did their own little spin on it with the the Mexican spirits. So my grandfather just fell in love with that concept and idea and just brought it into the Italian theme.
Love that. Love that. Well, we got to talk about the pizza. Describe a Louis pizza and what makes it so great.
What makes the Louis pizza so great is our attention to detail. We don't skimp around any technical processes. Everything is done by hand. It's an art form. So when we make our pizza, we don't weigh anything. Everything is by hand. If it looks good, it's good, and we just go from there. We build our pies, and what makes a Detroit style pizza so special is the use of Wisconsin brick cheese. Wisconsin brick cheese has high butterfat content, and that really translates to the flavor of the pie. It gets all throughout it.
I'm just thinking about how you said you just don't really, you just kind of look at it, eyeball it. That lets you know something's phenomenal when a person says, I don't need to measure things out with I'm just going to eyeball. Oh, it looks good. It feels good in my hand. It's right. That is like one of the best things I could hear from a pizza place right now.
It's like homemade, yeah. And so you've talked about the consistency over the years, how, you walk in and it looks like the 1970s. What has changed, though? Has anything changed?
Only one thing.
Oh.
Only one thing. I took over about 10 years ago. I only did one thing. And there's a very popular movement with barbecue chicken pizza.
Oh.
So I wanted to do a barbecue chicken pizza, but I didn't want to do it like everybody else did.
Okay.
So everywhere uses Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue. It's just...
What did you do?
My grandma has her own recipe, and I took that to the restaurant, and it's become very popular.
Ooh.
Personally, as a person who does not care for barbecue chicken pizza, I'm not a fan of how sweet it is.
Yes.
So that, once again, another one, ding.
Yes.
Because that just already wants me to go try this particular barbecue chicken pizza. And we know, I think about as well, Laura, we talked about pineapple on pizza. Mm-hmm. Is that your thing too?
I actually enjoy it too. And it's also funny, not too many other restaurants use sweetened pineapple. So we use sweetened pineapple, and it makes all the difference.
What do you mean sweetened pineapple?
So in the natural juices, a lot of people would use I would say like a no sugar added in like a light syrup, where we actually we use Dole pineapple in heavy syrup, and it makes all the difference.
Laura, wow. we got something to do.
We gotta go soon. We gotta go. We got a date. Can't wait. Well, Nick Sulkivsky, the owner of Louis Pizza, thank you so much for joining us here on the Metro. And again, congratulations.
Oh, thank you much. Thank you guys for having me.
Well, Laura, pineapple on pizza, barbecue chicken pizza. I want to try it right now.
I know. Why don't we have pizza here?
I know. Next time we have to make sure that Nick brings us some pizza back. However, coming up, we'll discuss an arts event that's happening Thursday evening along Detroit's riverfront. You all stay right there. It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham, joined by Laura Herberg from Outlier Media. Laura, today, it's already to the last conversation of the day.
It's flying by.
It flew right on by. But I think to myself, if you could talk to a body of water, what would you ask it? And what would be its response? For the last 2 years, the leaders with Inside Out Literary Arts have asked the question if the river could sing. And for its third year, If the River Could Sing, a celebration of writing and river with Inside Out, it's happening at Robert C. Valade Park in Detroit, right off of the river this Thursday. And it's in partnership with 14 organizations. There will be fun for the entire family, and the evening will end with a sunset showcase of music and poetry. It is free and open to all who want to join. And joining us right now in studio is Monica Blair. Monica is the MC of the event, local musician, songwriter, and artist. Monica, welcome to the Metro.
Hi, welcome.
Yay!
I'm glad to be here.
And then we have Suma Rosen, who is the executive director of Inside Out Literary Arts. Suma, welcome. I want to say back to the Metro because I believe you've spoken to us on the Metro already.
I've definitely talked to you. It's just a pleasure to be
It's
back.
a pleasure.
Thank
Yay,
you.
Suma. So, Suma, what's happening Thursday?
Ooh, so many things. I'm super excited about this event. This is one of our favorite events. We do this, like you said, this is our third year doing it. So this is a celebration of writing in river. You mentioned we partner with 14 other organizations, and we partner with them to offer just a myriad activities for families all ages. There's something for everyone. I just want to walk people through, like you show up at Valade, and there are 4 different zones, and we have like an arts and culture zone, we have a conservation zone, we have a wellness zone, and we have a teen zone. And you know my passion is the young people, so I'm going to start with the teen zone. We actually have 2 of our high school seniors who are leading that space. There's an open mic. There's going to be a beat making workshop with bread. Beats, Rhymes, Everything Detroit, which is a super exciting opportunity. Kids can get, if you're a teen and you show up, you get a free ice cream too. So note that. And then the other areas, the arts and culture zone, we're going to have Signal Return back. They're going to be doing printing the broadsides from the 2 winning poems from our poetry contest we do every year. We're partnering with DSO this year, the Harmony, Detroit Harmony. So young people can come and try out instruments. Something new we're doing this year is called Ask a Poet. We're going to have 2 poets, including our senior writer, Peter Marcus, who's been with Inside Out since we were started in 1995, and Jacqueline Suskin. And you can come talk to them about poetry or anything else. I think it'll be fun to hear what a poet's perspective is. And then a bunch of other, wellness and conservation activities, and for all ages. And then there's the main stage, of course. We get Monica this year, who's we're thrilled to have her.
Exactly. Okay, so because I wrote down so many different things really quickly.
It's a lot.
I know my hand was
and
just
it's free. It's all free.
and it's free. So one of the things that you talked a little bit about was the free ice cream, number 1, but number 2 was the trying out of instruments. I remember when I was in school, I was young, that was something that happened. You would come in middle school, 6th grade or so, 5th grade, and you would try out different instruments, percussion, woodwinds, whatever it may have been. Yeah. And it's something that you don't see as much of anymore. So if you could go into the activities you decided to bring, especially for the young people.
Yeah. So there's that. There's also young people can get their hands into some dirt and plant a seedling. We're doing that with Keep Growing Detroit. You can meet the sturgeon again. People love that. There's a live sturgeon who's just swimming around, and you get to learn about conservation activities with Outdoor Adventure Center. In the wellness zone, there's sound meditation and qigong, guided meditation. So, that's not the kid part specifically. That's a little bit for everybody, but just wander around and see what speaks to your heart, and then stop and do that thing, and then work your way to the main stage for all the amazing performances we have lined up.
Which I love. And speaking of performances, right now, Monica, you're going to be an MC, you're performing. I've been listening to some of the music remixes you've been putting out, especially some of those house remixes have been fire. Just wanted to throw that out there. But Monica, talk to us a little bit about why it's so important to speak to the river, I guess you can say, and talk to the river and write about the river, especially as an artist.
Absolutely. So first I want to shout out Phoenix, who is actually going to be the MC of the entire event. She's going to be LaShawn Phoenix Moore. She's going to make that happen. So that's a load off, because then I really only have to focus on speaking to the river, right? Which is its own deep connection and moment. I actually don't live that far from the river. And it is a part of a weekly thing that has to happen. I have to touch it, see it, feel it, talk to it, have kind of my own personal. And so there's been this intense practice around like actually doing this show of like actually going and sitting and see what is revealed to me kind of sonically. So hopefully I'll be able to share that conversation. Most of my art is, I think, people may know, but a lot of my art is really improvisational, and I am just kind of in the moment. So being there, being at the river, having a connection with this community, and being able to have a conversation that has been cultivated and curated, and then also just kind of downloaded for this moment is going to be pretty special.
And Monica, sticking with you because you're a native Detroiter, what part?
Dexter and Davidson, West Side Whoop.
I'm from the West Side as well. So, but I always ask that because I always think about the unique perspective that Detroiters bring to whatever they're doing at that moment. Mm-hmm. So, with this particular event that's happening, you're talking about the river, you're talking about the way it inspires or what it could say or the way it moves. No matter what it may be, and being from the city of Detroit, what does the river say to you? What do you when you're sitting there once a week and you're listening to the river? What is it saying to you?
Well, some of that is quite personal. I'm not going to share it on the air. But the part that isn't so much so is that I think that water is this representation of flow and distinct possibility. I think water embodies the whole idea that anything and anything is infinitely possible in a divine way. And so I think that that's the thing that this river walk and these walks with the river and these talks with the river really unfold is that whatever vision is placed inside of me or anyone else, it has ample time, space, and ability to be on the outside of your body and be shared in a community capacity.
I know. Chills. And, Suma, coming back to you really quickly, just trying to understand and get a better idea of what the river means to, number one, the city of Detroit, but all the people around us. But the reasoning why you all decided to choose this particular event, to have it for the third year, the popularity, just go into the importance of this event.
So I think we talk about this as one of our signature events, and I think it's really important to underscore the connection we have with Detroit. We are a homegrown organization. Actually, Inside Out Literary Arts is going to have its 30th year next year. I can't even believe it, right?
Congratulations.
Cool.
Wow.
Rooted in the schools, we exist to serve the young people of Metro Detroit. And I think one of the things that really resonates with me is when we put prompts about connecting to the river in front of our young people and say, write to this, or, hey, check out, Langston Hughes poems and take a look at this lineage that you're a part of. And then we give them that stage where we say, share back with the community. That just, it brings it home for me. So we will have our youth performance troupe performing. We're also going to have Jason B. Crawford on the main stage. So there's that poetry connection. It's poetry and music. But I really think for us, the celebration of our community, our roots, giving back is really important. It is important to us that this is a free and accessible activity, event. It's really more of a festival than a concert. So it's something for everyone, and we want to give back to the people who allow us to continue to be here and thrive and do the work that we do.
I just want to say thank you to you both for being here right now. Suma Rosen is the Executive Director of Inside Out Literary Arts. Suma, thank you for being on the Metro.
Thank you. And people can register to get information about where to park and all that kind of stuff. It's at our website, www.insideoutdetroit.org.
Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. And Monica Blair is a local musician, songwriter, and artist, and she's going to be the featured artist at the event this evening or Thursday evening. Monica, thank you for being here.
It was my distinct pleasure, always.
Awesome. And it's happening Thursday from 5:30 to 9 p.m. It's an immersive evening of activities and performances. And once again, it is called If the River Could Sing, a celebration of writing and river with Inside Out happening at Valade Park. Thank you so much.
Yay.
But that is the Metro for Monday, September 9th. You can listen to recent episodes online at WDET.org. Make sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast, The Metro, on your favorite platform. The show is also on YouTube if you like listening that way.
The show is produced by Sam Corey, David Lyons, and Jack Philbrandt. Our engineer is Nate Bender. Music by Sam Bobian and Will Sessions.
This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. Thanks for listening. Laura and I will be back tomorrow.
Yes, we will.